Hi there. Happy holidays. Welcome to volume 2 of Authors Across the Multiverse. We have a fantastic show. We have multiple perspectives of this publishing journey. It's definitely, there's more than one way to be an author. And that's what I really wanted to demonstrate in speaking to all my super talented friends. So, first of all, returning is my friend Karin Nordin, who is so talented, y'all. I just burned through the audiobook version of her new book, Sweet Little Lies. And to introduce her, I am going to show you off her trailer. So, one second while I pull that up. All right. Welcome, Karen.
Hi, thanks for having me again.
Thanks for being here. That trailer is Chef's Kiss,
Thank you.
and the book is amazing. Also, good morning, Carl.
Yeah, I have to definitely give some credit to a few friends who came over and helped me film that. Especially the friend of mine who decided to take the part of the character running through the woods in her bare feet because she definitely kind of tore her feet up, and the rest of us got bitten by mosquitoes. But it was a lot of fun to make.
Well, your friend nailed it. Like the yeah, the trailer was perfect. Carl Witzman says that's a heck of a teaser. He is not wrong. And then Sci-Fi Queen says, "Hello,
Oh,
ladies. Hello,
hi!
Karen. Hi, Sci-Fi
I
Queens."
love them. They are fantastic. They have a fantastic show as well. So if anybody isn't already following them, they should definitely be following the Sci-Fi Queens.
And Sci-Fi Queen says, "Need to hear from the Sci-Fi Queens here." I got the notification that they followed this channel this morning, so I am definitely giving them a follow back and checking them out. I'm excited. Craylee Vanessa says, "Hello, authors." Hi, Craylee. That's
Hi,
my
Craylee.
partner in everything. Not everything. I do have a
Well, no,
husband.
but I mean, fantastic cosplay partner. I mean, you guys have
Yeah.
some of the most dynamic cosplay like images and photos and videos. I love your guys' cosplays.
Oh, thank
Which
you.
is
Yeah,
another great thing about this show today because I think we're all cosplayers, right?
we are, and we are gonna nerd out about
Excellent.
cosplay. Like, oh, yeah. I feel like being a cosplayer, having that imagination helps with imagining stories because it's all storytelling, right?
It is
Aw.
absolutely.
Curly Vanessa says, "You're too sweet." So next up, I'm going to introduce our newcomer to the show, who is Sara Freites. I adore Sarah. I just got to go to her wedding, so congratulations. Sarah. She was the most beautiful bride I've ever seen. She's stunning. Sarah is just incredible. Her series is a YA vampire series that is definitely like, yeah, there's a lot of vampire series out there, but it is
There
a new
is
twist.
never enough vampire series in my book. I love
Never.
vampires.
Me too. Me too. And her twist on vampires is just fantastic. Her protagonist is amazing, multi-layered, fabulous. So I am also going to introduce Sarah by showing her trailer, which features Sarah, and she's incredible. So let's do this.
I am the reincarnation of a powerful caster, a vampire leader who lived centuries before I was born. And thanks to the vampire clan who kidnapped me, I know what I have to do. Fight a demon, grow my powers, maybe even go into hell. But this is for the people I love. If I don't do this, hell will be the new reality on Earth. My name is Autumn, and I am the reincarnation of the vampire queen Latresma. And helping vampires send a demon back to hell wasn't exactly how I thought I'd spend my spring break. The Rise of Midnight series by Sara Freites, available on Amazon, ebook, paperback, and hardcover, coming to audiobook in 2023.
Oh. That kind of gives me chills. I don't know. I don't know if it's because like I'm of the generation of like, Buffy the Vampire Slayer and
Mhm.
the Sookie Stackhouse books, but like, I just love that.
It is very, very Buffy feeling. Welcome, Sarah. You look gorgeous.
Hey guys! Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for agreeing to join us. I'm really, really excited to talk to you because you have exciting news
Yes, I
about your
do.
publishing. So first, let me get to comments and then we'll get into it. So Sci-Fi Queen says cosplay is so much and so creative. I love cosplaying. Yes, more cosplaying. And Sci-Fi Queens also says, agree. I love a good vampire story.
Yes.
So Karen, I assume you don't mind if we let Sarah go first since she's
No,
our newcomer.
absolutely. Yeah, fantastic. I'm excited to hear
Is that
more.
okay, Sarah? If
Yeah,
we
you
put
just
you in
saw
the
my
hot
eyes
spot?
get big. Yes.
So you started out as a self-published author, but why don't you share your exciting author news?
Yes, I just got signed with a traditional publishing company. They're a smaller publishing company. They're called Jumpmaster Press. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of them. I actually met them at a booth at a con in Tupelo maybe a year and a half ago. And I met the guy that had started it up, and he had several of his authors there. And they take their authors' books and they set up a big booth with all the books and all these cool banners and stuff. So, of course, when I walked up, I was like, "Oh, books, yay!" And I got there and started talking to him. Come to find out, he was the guy that, I guess, the founder of the company. And I started telling him, I was like, "Oh, I love to read." I was like, "But I also write," and started telling him about my book and showing it to him on Amazon. And he was like, "Well, we don't normally take submissions from authors without a agent, and I have had just the hardest time trying to find I haven't been able to get an agent." And so I said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna follow you guys anyway, and I really like what you guys are doing." And so I followed them on Instagram and Facebook. And last, or was it this August? Oh wow, this year's going by so fast. So this August they posted a submission that they decided, or I guess a call for authors who were not represented to submit, and they were asking just to send your manuscript. And I kind of was like, "What?" So I submitted mine. I didn't think anything of it, and they messaged me, I think it's probably like a month and a half later, and saying out of all the 30 books that they had submitted, I was the only one that they wanted to go further with. And I about fell out of my chair. I was like, "What?"
That's fantastic.
So
Congratulations.
thank you. We're in the middle of doing contracts, and they've already started on the editing, and that's been a whole new process for me, a good one. It's just it's been a little overwhelming.
I definitely feel
Especially
that. Yeah.
because you got married this year, you bought a house.
Oh my gosh,
And
it's been a crazy end of the year. Whew. I don't want to say I don't ever want to do it again, but I don't want to do it so close together ever again. It was all really, whew, still
I
trying
mean,
to figure my
hopefully
life
you won't
out.
ever have to get married again.
Oh yeah, that part. Yeah, I guess I should say. I don't ever want to have to buy a house, get married, and do all this extra stuff at the same time.
And Carl Witzman says, congratulations, Sarah.
Oh, thank you, Carl. I'm a little old married lady now.
So, what would you say? Obviously, you're still new in this process, but what would you say are the benefits of going with a small press traditional publisher versus being an independently self-published author? I'm sorry, I can't talk
No,
this
it's
early
okay.
morning.
I was gonna say I don't think I could talk good either. Well, so far it's been, you don't have as much control over some things. Thankfully, they already liked a lot of the stuff I had as far as like my cover and my story. They've decided to split my books into two each. So instead of two books, it's going to be four because of the length, because it's so big, and they were worried about print costs versus, which is understandable. But and I kind of think that would make more sense since I already know what my print costs are for my thick first book. So I was like, oh, I wonder if that's going to be one of the issues. But it ended up working out okay. I didn't have to do any huge rewrites. Somehow, I guess by the miracle of God, I wrote that book. In the middle of the book, there's a huge arc scene that could easily be split to turn it into, that's the end of the first book, and the second chapter, or that next chapter would start as the second book. So that worked out, thankfully. So there's stuff like that I was kind of heartbroken about, because I was like, oh, I'm going to have to figure out, all my advertising is just for two books and my covers. So it's going to be a little different figuring out how I want to approach that. I mean, obviously they're going to take over a lot of that kind of stuff, but as far as a new cover for the second half of the book, and that's another thing I thought I wouldn't have control over, but since they liked my artist already and they liked what I had, thankfully they were like, well, yeah, if you are okay with that and you'd like to bring him on, well, would love to talk to him about creating your second cover for the other half of your book.
Well, that's
so
good.
I got really
That's
lucky, because
awesome.
that's not a normal thing at all. So I literally
No.
just
No, it's not.
Karen, would
really,
you like to tell your cover stories?
Oh,
yeah.
yes, I want to hear this.
Well, so for those of you who don't know who I am a traditionally published author, but I kind of had a similar introduction to traditional publishing as you did, because my first two books were actually published with one of the big five, but I did not have an agent. So I also kind of got snuck in there during an open submissions call. So same kind of story. And then I didn't actually get my agent until after my second book came out. So I got it for my third book. But and that's also been like kind of a weird wild ride as well. But yeah, I like for my first book, my publisher asked me kind of like what I would like to see, like very bare minimum of what I would like to see. And they actually stayed pretty close to it for the first book, but then like after a few months, they realized the book wasn't doing as well as they wanted it to, and then they just completely revamped the cover completely. So the book has a new cover now. This is the original cover of the book, which I still really like. I still really like.
It's so pretty.
That purple
And
dress.
then
Ooh.
here's the new cover.
Yeah, that's the new cover. Yeah.
I still like it. It's different. Like
I do. Yeah.
But
the thing with when you're with traditional publishers is they look at what the market's doing, like what's everybody in the market doing. And for like crime thrillers, for example, which is what I write, a lot of it's just pictures of buildings, settings, or pictures of somebody like running someplace, and so that's kind of the scheme you get with your books. So they kind of stuck with they started with the running person, they went to the buildings, and now they've returned to the running person. So you kind of got to go with the market.
And the title color scheme, I think you had said last special also.
Yeah, for the new one, for Sweet
yellow.
Little Lies, they sent me like a list of 7 covers that were currently on books that were doing good in the market. And they said, which covers do you like the best? And then explain to us why. And one of the reasons I liked, like, for example, the yellow was because it stood out against the forest background and the darkness. So, and I did get to choose. The nice thing is the girl in the book does have a purple lavender colored dress. So they did give her that. So I liked that. That was nice. That's good. But you don't always get a choice.
Yeah. And Sci-Fi Queens, and I agree, says Karin is an awesome author. And if you haven't read her books, read them. They are so good.
Thank you, Nita.
And Carl Witzman says about Sarah, it sounds like your small publishers at least going to conventions and doing some promotion for the authors. Some people don't get the attention. That
Yes.
is
Yeah.
very true. Like a lot of people think being traditional published means that the publisher does everything for you. But Karin, is that true?
No. I mean, if you're Stephen King or you're at that level, they will do everything for you. But the nice thing about what I've heard from other author colleagues and stuff is that if you are with a smaller publisher, they have actually more ability to kind of go out on a limb for you, like go to conventions and things like that. But when you are with a really big publisher like HarperCollins or Hachette, they have to prioritize you based on, who they know they can sell, who they have to sell in order to support the other authors. And so you kind of have to you end up having to do a lot on your own.
And you absolutely work social media in a way that's very inspiring. Like you are putting content up that's promoting your books in very clever ways, very entertaining ways. And I'm inspired and impressed. Like you do a
It's
really good job.
desperation. No. I mean, they, when I signed with an agent, she said to me like very clearly, until you hit a certain level, you have to do a lot on your own. You have to kind of take an example from the self-publishers, because the self-published authors, they really work hard, and marketing is an even bigger part than writing the book for a lot of them. And so I just followed a lot of self-published authors and kind of saw, what are they doing? How can I make this work for my book in ways which is tricky, because I feel like if you write in certain categories, it's a lot easier. But when you're writing in crime and thrillers, it's really hard to come up with images that aren't going to get taken down from TikTok or something like that. So yeah, you do have to think out of the box. Agreed.
And then let's see. So Steve Fraser says, Sarah, exciting to hear about all the great things you've done during 2023. And you will have a more awesome 2024. Aww.
Thanks, Steve.
I agree.
Kelly, you may have met Steve at my wedding. He was the tall guy with the white mustache. He was a pilot. I don't know if I didn't get to introduce everybody. He's a good friend of mine. He was my work dad. I used to call him. We used to work together.
That's so sweet.
I love you, Steve. Thank you.
That is really sweet. Yeah, your wedding was really fun, and it was like small and intimate in a way that it just felt like it was a party filled with people that, well, I knew a lot of people, but it was a party filled with people that I loved talking to, and it was like all people that I was on the same wavelength as, of course, because you're a good person and you know a lot of good people. Oh, yes. So Sci-Fi Queens says, Sarah, please tell us where to follow you so we can make sure to know when your books are available. Sci-Fi Queen supports women, and we would love to support and promote you. Yes.
Yay. Yes, I'm Sapphire Art. It's SAF, which were my initials. Now it's SAFS. It's SAF Art, Sapphire Art on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. But my personal Facebook is Sara Freites Scott. So that's where I'm more active on Instagram than I am anything else these days. So I guess my Sapphire Art Instagram would be the best place to start. I'm working on a website with my publisher, trying to kind of figure that out. I don't have my own website, and this is a whole new kind of thing for me because I've always just used, social media as far as be like, here's the link to where you can get my books. And there's like hardly any author info. So.
And here, let me throw up a comment so everyone can like freeze frame your link tree if they want. Yeah. So this is Sarah's link tree. Also, she posts a lot of really amazing cosplays. Her cosplays are just perfection.
I was looking at it today, actually. I don't know if I followed because I was just so inspired, like that I might have forgotten to follow. But like,
I'll follow you.
your cosplays are top notch, like fantastic. I was like,
oh, thank you.
Like, I don't want to like say jealous because I love everybody's cosplay. I feel like everybody like has I love when people put their own spin on things, and some of your photography was actually was just so beautiful.
Karin, do you cosplay?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh my
I'm like the
God.
opposite though. I'm more on TikTok with my cosplays than I am on Instagram, but I'm trying to figure out a way to like kind of combine everything because it's really hard running multiple accounts.
Yeah, that's why I kind of give up on
Mhm.
TikTok. So I totally get you, girl. Ugh.
TikTok's hard. You have to like be active all the time, and it's
I don't
It's
have the energy.
exhausting.
it's
Yeah.
energy.
It's fun, but exhausting.
It is
I have
exhausting.
plans now that I'm gonna have more free time on my hands.
Mhm.
I've had plans for a while, but I have not had the energy, but I have more free time on my hands. So,
I feel like, and I
and
do this with. Oh, sorry. Oh,
oh, sorry, I was just gonna say thank you, Sci-Fi Queens. They said Sci-Fi Queens will be supportive of your podcast as well. Thank you so much. This YouTube is the best place to follow all my podcasting, everything. Sorry, what were
and
you
can
gonna say, Karen?
Oh no, I was just gonna say like I kind of like when you guys mentioned like the advertising marketing for my book. I kind of do the same thing with TikTok. I just do everything in big batches. Like I'll sit down one day and just make as many Instagram images as possible, and then I'll do the same thing with TikTok. I'll just film 50 TikToks in a single day. Like this is TikTok day only, and then I have content for like months.
Oh, that's awesome.
The only problem is if some new trend jumps up and people ask you to do it, then it's like, do I
It's
really
like,
want to put on
no.
mascara?
Do I want to put on mascara? Do I want to put on
That's what
makeup
TikTok
today?
filters are for, though. Those the
That's true.
mascara filters are amazing.
TikTok has saved
That's
me
awesome.
for like eye contacts because the eye color like filters. I'm like, oh, this is great. I can do Star Trek cosplays without having to put contacts.
Ah, yes, contacts are just the devil.
Or like the one where I thought that you had done the beard makeup, and you're like, no, that's a filter. I'm like, that's a good filter.
That
That's
was a good one.
awesome.
It took me forever to find that beard filter too, but it was.
I need
a
to
good
find
one.
you on TikTok. I got to see this stuff.
Oh, we will send that to you because
Yes.
her
Okay.
TikTok is hilarious.
Oh, really? Oh my God.
I'm there for the fun.
Yes.
Mhm. It's hilarious. It's inspiring. So, Karen, do you want to share your story of how you got picked up by HarperCollins
Sure.
and your agent, actually? Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a funny story because, and I love when I go to like conventions or situations where I get to meet other authors and they ask, they always kind of look at me with surprise that I didn't like I didn't go through the normal channels, you know, and it's always like a, well, thank goodness there are other ways to do it because the normal way is not always the easiest way. So I had written a book at the end of 2019, and I sent it out to multiple agents, and I was getting kind of mixed reviews. Either people were not responding, which is really common, or they were like, no, we're not really interested. Or a few people asked to read more and then never got back to me. And so I thought to myself, okay, maybe it's this book, maybe the book's just not good enough. And I saw that there were a few imprints of the big 5 publishers who had open submissions at that time. They don't usually do this all year round. Some places do. But I thought, okay, well, I'm kind of in the situation where the agents are getting back to me. If I send it to a publisher and the publisher says, no, this is not for us, then I know the book is not at the level it needs to be. And maybe I just need to write another book. So I sent it out to, I think, 4 or 5 different imprints. 2 of them responded very quickly, wanting it. And then I didn't have an agent, so I ended up having to hire a literary attorney to go through the contract with me because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what to do. So he walked me through that. So that's how I got my first contract with HarperCollins. And then my first 2 books were actually both nominated for 2 different awards. And the second one was nominated for an award that was in New York. And I was in New York, and it was a huge convention for thriller books and horror books. And a lot of huge authors, like big name authors, were there. And there were a lot of agents that were there scouting, and they actually had a pitch fest and they had like a consult fest. And that the pitch fest, it was kind of like a speed dating with an agent where you could basically you had like 1 minute to basically sell your book. And I thought, well, I don't really have a book that's done. So I thought it wasn't fair for me to go to the pitch fest. So I went to something they had that's called Consult Fest, where you basically, before the conference, you would send in the first 5 pages of your new manuscript that's not done yet. And then you got 15 minutes one-on-one with an agent. And you could do this with up to 4 agents. So I picked 4 agents that were they looked like they might have a good jive with me, and who were also representing books in genres that I wasn't writing in, but that I knew I wanted to write in the future. And I got offers of representation from all of those agents. So it was like very overwhelming, especially when you have to then make a choice. But I tell people now, like, it's, if you already have a book out there, if your book is already published, whether it's self-published or whether it's with a traditional publisher, I feel like your chances of getting an agent are a little bit easier because you have a track record of being able to finish a book on time and bring it out, especially if you did it with a traditional publisher the way I did it, because then you've proven that you can do a book on deadline, which is
Ugh.
the one thing that always is like the big worry is when an agent signs you is, will you be able to hit that second book on deadline? So that's always a good thing. So that's how I ended up with my agent. And fortunately, my current publisher really wanted to work with me again on another set of books. So they already had a contract waiting for me when I signed with the agent. So it was a really easy job for her. So that was kind of
just collect her fee and go.
Basically, yeah. No, I mean, she did a good job. She was able to get me a few things that I wasn't able to do myself the first time around, which is a great benefit of having an agent. But the nice thing now is that if I decide to write something that's in a different genre that my publisher doesn't want to publish, I have her to kind of go out and search for me and do it the normal way. So my next book, potentially, we'll see, might actually finally be on the normal route of publishing, but you never know.
You also have to share what other big name author that people might recognize that your agent represents, because that always is exciting.
Yeah. Well, that's not so. He's at my agency. My agent doesn't represent him. But my agent, no, it's okay. But I feel like we're all family, right?
Yeah.
Jim Butcher. So Jim Butcher from the Harry Dresden books.
Oh my gosh!
At my agency, wow. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Which was that a reason I signed? I mean, I don't. But yeah.
I wouldn't blame you if it was.
It's hard because, agents also, so anybody watching that's interested in publishing, you have agents who are at large agencies, which on the one good side is that you have all these other authors. And if there are other authors who are bigger name than you in your area, then it's easier to kind of maybe get them to, read your book and provide a quote for you, which is always awesome. Get them to tweet about you. But there are also agents who have their own like smaller boutique agencies. And the nice thing about those ones is that you get a lot more attention. So, and when I had offers from both types of agencies, and it was really hard to kind of like break down, like, what were my personal goals in my writing and my career and what kind of, person I wanted to work with and what kind of agency I wanted to be at. So that's a hard choice. A lot of people don't think about ahead of time, but that's something to remember. And especially Sarah, because you're probably going to have this like in a year or so when your books are out, you're going to have you'll probably be in a situation where where agents will want you and you'll have to decide what you want as well.
Oh God, I'm not ready for that.
Prepare yourself.
Yes.
Well, and we should point out that Sarah's books are out now. You can buy the self-published version of her books. So if you wanted to get her books where they're the long versions that haven't been split, you can.
Oh, so they're remarketing your previous books.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
I'll have to take them down off of Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and they're going to republish under their, publishing company name and all that. Mm-hmm. So that was the only thing that I was kind of upset about because I have so many reviews. I'm like, I'm gonna lose all my reviews, the good and the bad. I don't care.
Come back for you.
I hope so. They said that they should, but I don't know. Amazon sometimes is. That's another part that I'm scared about. But I'm just like, just do it. Just take the leap. Go.
Well, I would suggest, if you haven't already, screenshot the reviews and at the very least save them for yourself.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Or at least save them for your social media so that you can use it as part of your promotion. Because a lot of people love to know the story of how you get there, how you got to where you were. And people love hearing about like getting reviews or like, do you even read your reviews? Like that's stories people love to hear. And so you can show like the before and after, and you can talk about like that process.
Girl, you have so many ideas. That's awesome.
Well, and I will say you have ideas too, because one thing I got from you when we were on an author panel together a couple of years back was that you can put your book on, what is the word? But like going to independent bookstores and
yes,
Why don't you
And
talk about that a bit? Because I cannot
oh
think of the word.
man,
This is why we're
uh,
writers.
Because we
I
don't know
can't
words.
think of the word either. Yeah, God, don't put me in front of camera, but give me a pen or put me on the laptop and start typing. But oh my gosh, I can't think of the name either. But a bookstore, just like privately owned bookstores. Some of them are like, I guess, for example, I just go ahead and start with that. I have a local bookstore called Novel here in Memphis, and I never thought to go up there just like, hey, would you guys be interested? I'm a local author, and you fill out some paperwork, and then they take your book, and they I think they I can't remember how mine worked because it was right when I published my second book, which was a year and a half ago. Wow, it's going by so fast. I think they paid me up front. Yeah, they sent me a check, and so they paid me up front, and they keep the books, and when they run out, you're supposed to check in every couple of, I think they said like a 6 to 8 month period, and if they want more, if they're selling more, you can give them more. I also found a shop in Chicago where my book is based, and I was able to talk to them online, and I can't remember how I found them. It might be one of my other author friends went there, or so, I can't even remember. I wish I could tell you that story because that was pretty awesome too. So I contacted them and sent my books, and they sent me a check, and I was like, my books are in Chicago where my book is based. This is awesome. So yeah, kind of reaching out to local bookstores and non-local too. If you know somebody that can be like, hey, I have an author friend. She doesn't live here, but So I wish I could remember exactly how that happened, but
Yeah, a lot of bookstores will do that. They don't always pay you up front. Sometimes they'll just pay you when the books sell, and then they, of course, take a cut of it. Also, if you are self-publishing, depending on where you go through self-publishing, you can make sure that you get on the ordering, so bookstores can order you traditionally and stock you. And then you still have to basically query the bookstores and ask them to stock you. But if they can't even order your book, then you have to go the route of saying, okay, I have physical stock. Will you sell it? Basically, it's kind of more of an not under the table, but it's more of I wish I could think of the word.
now consignment. Is that it? Is it
Consignment, thank
consignment?
you.
I was like, what is that word?
I was thinking, I think the word's consignment, but I'm not sure.
It just popped in my head. Like, that's
Consignment.
got to be it.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Y'all are not going to want to buy my books because you're going to be like, this chick can't even talk.
I mean, this is why I have an editor.
Yes.
This is why I have an editor. This is why we're writers, because we're edited. Yeah. Craley is actually my editor also.
Oh, fantastic.
On top of being my cosplay partner. She's a brilliant editor. She's really good. When I put out my first book, I had a different editor who actually, she was editing for fun, and she was also working in the court system, and now she's a judge.
Oh, wow.
Which I think is really a cool story, because I put out my first book, 11 years ago, and then, or 12 years ago, somewhere around there. And then with the upcoming audiobook, a friend of mine who is in academia was like, he's like, I really love your book, but here's some things. He's like, have you considered re-releasing basically an edited copy or a revised edition? And I was like, you know what? There are some things I would like to change because I've grown as a writer. And since I'm doing the audiobook, might as well do that. Now is the perfect time. So I was like, well, Craley, obviously, you have to edit it because she edited my second book. And so I have a revised edition out there that I've applied my over a decade's worth of growth as an author. And I have Craley's editing on top of my original editor's editing. But yeah, so it actually worked really well, though, having my original editor, because one of my main characters is a police officer. So she brought the expertise of knowing things about the legal system, and she obviously knew a lot of police officers, and she was like, she's like, this thing that this character is doing is absolutely true for what a police officer would do in this situation. I'm like, Good. Because I just made this up off the cuff.
Which is
Really,
always the
Vanessa,
hard
oh,
thing.
stop.
That is the hardest thing. And I don't know if if you get kind of like some leniency on that when you're writing in other genres like fantasy and stuff, but like that is one area where I was like, I don't know if I will ever write another police officer protagonist again, because like people who are like thriller readers and especially crime, like police procedural readers, they know way more than you do. They know way more than you do, and they will tell you when you're wrong. And I was always of
Yeah.
I was always of the, oh well, you know, it's like poetic license, like you know,
Nope.
he can do that.
People
No,
will
he
fact
can't
check
do he
you.
can't do that. So
You
I think
fact-checked.
exactly. So like from the future, any of my future police officer characters will probably be in some fantasy world. So
And Curly says, "Oh, stop! You're making me blush." Never, never.
Oh.
And then Sci-Fi Queens asked Kelly, "What is your next book coming out?" So the first two books are out now. The first book, audio version, will be hitting Audible later this month, and then the third book, which is the last. I
in
know,
time for the
I'm so
holidays.
excited.
It's happened
In
so
time for the
fast.
holidays. And then the third book should be coming out by the end of next year. So that's my goal. And
That's awesome.
I should be on track for that. So I'm excited. And Curly Vanessa says criminal procedural readers are intense.
They are, but they are awesome because I've noticed that they are really, really connected with the author community, and they love having that connection with authors, especially on some of the, you know, certain platforms that used to be birds. But and they're fantastic because they actually have a lot of thriller authors, especially crime and police procedural authors, who are not in the legal system and are writing kind of, you know, from their just, you know, imagination. These readers have become people who fact check for them. Like they reach out to them and they do the fact checking. So it's really
That's
cool.
awesome.
Like readers are amazing.
Yes. Mine is interesting because I've got superhero powers, so I feel like I don't do a lot with the police side of things, which helps.
Yeah.
But it was still nice to have the fact checking on certain things where I'm like, I'm glad I got that right.
Yeah. I actually had to do a major fact check for my newest book, which was kind of a fun experience. And this is why I would tell people, especially if you want to be an author, as much as you hate Facebook, because I think a lot of people do, I do, like don't get rid of it, because you'll never know when you have to ask for, you need help from a lawyer and you don't know any. And so you just put a random like Facebook message out saying, if anybody I know is a lawyer in this area and has information about, you know, this particular part of the legal system, could you please reach out to me and let me know whether this thing in my book is real or not? And like literally within 5 minutes, I had 6 different people that like I went to high school with who became lawyers. And I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so glad somebody got a real job.
Yeah, writing is not a real job. It's
Yeah. I mean, it is, but
it is,
sometimes
but
people
it
feel
isn't.
like it.
It's telling lies for a living.
It's true.
Yes, that's so
And
true.
then-
That's just a storyteller.
Yeah.
And then having mental breakdowns every
Oh
couple
God, yes.
That's definitely part of the job.
Mhm. Yeah, the dirty little secrets. Also, don't
I'm
quit
not
your
sure if
day
it's a
job,
secret. I think
people.
everybody knows that their favorite author has a mental breakdown every 3 months.
It's part of the job.
Creative types are temperamental, and also like literally, even if you get signed with one of the big 5, don't quit your day job. Please don't quit your day job.
Oh.
Whatever people are like, oh, you're an author, you're a published author, so you must be making tons of money. No, no. Even sometimes people will say that to me because I'm a self-published author. I'm like, if you saw my royalty checks.
Same.
You know, the funny thing about that is like I feel like, especially in traditional publishing, it's kind of like a faux pas to talk about money, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Like anybody who asks me, like in my DMs on Instagram, like, you know, what do you make? Like I tell them, because if they want to do this, they need to know, like, you know, what the highs and the lows are. But even some of these authors who, you know, you hear them get a huge deal, like in the 6 figures, for example. They're not nobody's just handing them that much money, they're going to get paid over like 6 like installments. And so when you cut it down, like say somebody offers you $1 million for your book, but if they're going to pay you between 6 and 8 installments for it, I mean, for a lot of people, that's like, that could be your normal job.
Yep. But
I
would
mean,
you buy a green dress?
Would I buy a green dress?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
not a real green dress, because that's cruel. I'm sorry, Bare Naked Ladies reference. I'm stupid.
Oh my gosh. Seen that movie. Wait, it's not a movie, it's a band, isn't it?
That took me so long, but yes. Oh yeah. If I had $1 million, right?
Is that it? Okay. I was like, wait a minute.
Look,
I
we are
don't
at
know.
the age where we remember that band, but we're not at the age where we can remember.
There you go. I was like, what? I was too young to understand the references in that band.
I mean, I guess I would buy a green dress. Because I would turn it into a Loki cosplay.
Oh my god, that's a good idea.
Yes. Nita of Sci-Fi Queen says, storytelling goes back before the written word. You all are part of one of the oldest professions. Agreed.
That's true.
There is something so human about storytelling. I feel like people need stories. We process the world through stories. It's a culture, like it brings us together culturally. It helps us learn empathy for others. I could go on and on. I will not. I'll spare you all. But I feel very passionate about the importance of storytelling as much as I joke about it.
Agreed.
And that's why we write.
Such a reality escaper, reading and writing. It's like, even though I write more nowadays than I read, just like, oh, don't do that. Just writing helps you just pretend you're somebody else for a minute. Even if, I guess it's kind of the same as when you're reading. You're like stepping into somebody else's shoes, but you're the one creating the story. And that's such a, I don't know. That's one thing I've leaned on all my life, ever since I was really young. In elementary school, I was writing little short stories and poems. And so it's just, once you kind of get into that world, like you can't, if somebody says they don't like to read, I'm like, what the? It's like, you just don't know what you're missing.
I used to date a guy. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, because I'm gonna go off tangent here. So no.
I used to date a guy who didn't like to read fiction. He was an accountant and he read accounting books for fun.
Accounting books? Is that what you said?
He was an accountant. He was an accountant and he read accounting books for fun. Let that sink in.
He likes numbers.
And I didn't know it.
Can't let that
numbers are his fantasy.
And I did not know what to make of him. I was like, how do you not
end up in a book
to read?
Yeah. He'll end up in one of your books one day.
There you go. Yeah.
He might. Maybe he already has. You don't know.
Oh, it's possible. No, I was going to ask Sarah. So, since your books that are coming out with your new publisher are technically like the books that you already started, are you also on the side writing something new?
I have been for a while, but I kind of set them aside when all this kind of happened, because I was like, oh, now I really have to not have an editor now, a new editor, and that's been a whirlwind, which in a good way. I'm learning a lot, and I'm seeing why agents didn't pick up my book. I mean, they told me why they didn't, but she's actually showing me, my biggest thing is I tell more than I show, and nobody's ever explained exactly what am I doing. I was like, I don't understand. I'm just telling the story. What am I doing wrong? And she's getting in there and showing me examples, and every time it happens, she's like, this is showing, or this is telling more than showing, and this is how, she's teaching me as she's editing. And it's been wow. Like every day I get into my edits and I'm like, wow, I wish I could rewrite my whole book, because this just is blowing my mind. So I've been having to have a lot more attention on going back to my old books, but I do have ideas for other books, and I do have 3 unrelated fiction books that I have started or have an outline for. Just that since this happened, I haven't been able to dive into it. I do have and it was supposed to be my 3rd and final book for the series, which is actually going to be the 5th and final book of the series at the end of the line.
Ooh.
But so I think I will probably work on that first before I jump into my other 3 unrelated fiction books. So
Are
it's
your other three like also in the YA like fantasy
yeah.
sphere,
I
or
think that's where I'm not able. At least I have not been able to find a home in writing in a different genre. I just for some reason that's where I'm stuck is YA fantasy.
That
So
is a good place to be stuck.
I wouldn't.
But
I would say I would agree. I wouldn't say that's a bad place to be stuck.
well, that's good because I guess it's hard to figure out what the readers are for YA because a lot of my readers aren't YA young adults; they're older, and I'm like, should I still market it as a YA? You know, it's so confusing. But
It's
thankfully, my
so hard.
publisher has been like, no, 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 we got you. It's YA. It's and I had to ask them. I said, I think my book is YA. I was like, I have some suggested things in there as far as like violence and gore and I know verbiage and stuff. But they, once they go through and they have their editors read it and so on, they kind of give you a more, which thankfully I knew what category I was in. I was just kind of like, but does YA books, do they have this in other YA books? Because I feel like some do and some
Yes.
don't. And I don't
Yeah.
know, there's boundaries and so on. And
YA is such a weird.
Whew.
It's such a weird category because you have such a huge age difference between, for example, 12, 13, and then somebody who's 18, 19.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Because I'm like, I
It's
don't know
really
if a 12-year-old should read this. And then my best friend who actually before I self-published, she was kind of helping me with I guess storyline gaps. Like she'd read it and go through it and be like, oh, you need to tie this in, tie this in. And then at the time her son was 12 and he was an avid reader, like nonfiction and fiction, like he still just devours books. And she would give it to him like, I don't think he should read that. And she was like, no, 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 he will love it. I'm like, but that, remember that chapter where that guy gets his head cut off? I don't want your little 12-year-old. She was like, no, 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 he loves that kind of stuff. I'm like, okay. It's crazy.
A friend of mine, her 14 or 15-year-old son has read all of my books.
Oh, that's
which,
awesome.
Of course, definitely
Wow.
they were not written for that age group. But
Right.
but when I look at the books that I used to read, because when we were younger, there was no really official YA.
That's
and so
true.
I went straight from the Goosebumps to Stephen King. Like there was no in between.
Oh,
it's just
yes.
it was a huge jump. So it's nice now that they have that middle category, but it's really hard. Actually, a good friend of mine who used to be a bookseller, she's like the one I call whenever I have like a plot question or I'm curious. Do you think this idea would be sellable? Do you think that there are readers out there for this? And I had called her recently about the book that I'm about to start writing. And I said,
Ooh.
depending on the age of the main character, I'm like, is this a YA or is it an adult book? And she's like, well, your style is definitely, you write for adults. But yeah, if your protagonist is under 18, which it can be, like The Shining,
Yeah.
but like you have to figure out that balance. Otherwise, the publishing houses are like, where do we put you? And so it's kind of a situation of do you pick an age appropriate character and make it for that age group, or do you just like age the character up to 1920, say, okay, first year college student instead of like 17-year-old last year high school student, and just firmly place it in adult? And that can be really hard for certain stories that kind of fall in between.
Are you allowed to talk about what you're writing?
Oh,
I was gonna ask.
If not, that's okay because I totally get it. But
well, it's
can you give us a hint without doing any?
So I have a book that is done and it's just been turned into my editor, and that book comes out next year. So the book that I'm talking about right now is the book that I'm going to start writing next.
Oh, okay.
But the book that I just turned into my editor it's another psychological thriller. It's kind of in line with Sweet Little Lies. It's about a young woman who comes home from work in the middle of the night and her husband has disappeared with their infant son.
Wow.
And the whole book the book takes place 6 years later. She's been searching for them, and then she finally finds her husband, but he doesn't recognize her and she doesn't know where the son is. So it's all about it's a game of like, is this the husband? Where is the son? Why doesn't he recognize her? That kind of thing. But the book I want to start writing, it's kind of veering more into the supernatural direction, I'll say.
Ooh.
But it also is. It's a mix between thriller and horror at the moment.
Yes.
We'll see which direction it goes in. It could go in either way. Yeah, I'm a huge horror fan. That's the direction I'd like it to go in. But it's one of those stories where like it could kind of thread the needle between the two, which I think is becoming a really popular genre right now, this between thriller and horror genre. And I'm really excited to write it. But yeah, the question right now is like, what age group am I like focusing it on? So, because it'll be my first, it's a non-contract book. So I kind of have too many options.
Ah.
That's both freeing and a little stressful because then you have to like narrow down.
Yeah.
I get that. In addition to working on my third book in my series, I am also writing. So my nephew, when my sister got my second book, he was curious about it, of course. And he's 7, and he was like, okay, well, can I read it? And she's like, no, this is for grown-ups. Not that my books are that bad or anything, but just it's above his reading level. So he asked her if I could write something that he could read. So when I came over next, he's like, Aunt Kelly, will you write something that I can read? So that's what I have to write next.
Oh, that's
And
exciting.
I have a perfect idea to write something middle grade that incorporates cryptids because I love cryptids.
Ooh.
And I'm really excited about it. And so I somehow have to write both that and my third book next year. That's my goal.
Woohoo.
You can do it. I believe in you.
Thank you.
You just got to put the deadlines down.
Yes. Ugh, deadlines. Ugh.
Yes. Well, yes, that's my plan. And then going back a little bit to what I said before, Hollis Thompson, my friend in academia who suggested that I put out the revised copy, said that moment when Kelly Guentner sums up your entire first lecture at Intro to Lit in 3 minutes. That is extremely, extremely flattering. Oh, Hollis is so smart, and I've done some panels with him that are on this YouTube. If you all look back, like we did a panel on fan fiction, he's very smart about stories. Like he's basically a professor of stories. And Nita of Sci-Fi Queen says, Kelly, you're a great aunt to do this because it can't be easy to change your style like that. She's right. But also, I get to write about squonks, which are my favorite cryptid. And I'm super excited.
Oh, that sounds
yeah.
I really want to do monster horror.
Ooh, yes.
That's like actually there were 2 book ideas that I had for my next book, and it was like a choice between one of them was like firmly like this is a monster horror book, and then one of them was kind of like maybe not totally isolate all of my thriller reading followers on this first out book, but yeah, it'll be interesting. Ease them in.
There you go. Yeah, ease them in.
There might still be some kind of monster in it. I haven't decided. That's kind of the twist at the end that I haven't figured out yet. But yeah, which is also as a question I have for Sarah. Like, do you plot your books, or are you like one of those like pantser rewriting?
Oh yeah, girl, I have to have some kind of structure, or it's just madness. So it's just I guess my first book kind of came to me all at once when I started writing it when I was 17. I'm 37 now. Am I 37 or 38? I'll be 38 in April. Whoa. Okay. So that I kind of knew where it was going to go, but I wrote out my little outline, and it changed over the years. Like I would play with it a little and write, and then I'd stop, and then I'd write, and then I'd stop. And then I think one point before I turned 30, I was going through a lot of stuff, and I was like, I need to just do something with this book. And I went through and reread it, and I was like, my God, it's a train wreck. So I kind of went and pretty much rewrote the whole book, but I had to do, like you said, I had to plot everything and make sure everything, there's just so many plot twists in my book and so many characters. And I was like, this is a train wreck. I should just trash it. But something was like, no, you can make it better. You got this. Yeah. So that's kind of how my second book did too. And that was another thing that kind of came to me all at once. I kind of knew how it was going to go, but still I wish I could sit down like you and just write, book after book after book. The ideas just don't come to me very often. When they come, I'm like, there's my book. That's it. It'll probably be it for the next 10 years. And then I'll write another book. Yeah. I wish I had the talent.
It's funny. No, I honestly don't think it's talent. I think it's like fear of being sued. No, that's a joke, kind of. But I mean, like, when you sign a contract with a traditional publisher, like they have dates in there, and the dates are like, this is when their draft is due, and so you have to kind of look ahead and be like, is that feasible? Like, can I actually come up with a book idea, write a book in that time period, and get it turned in on site? And there's always kind of like a little bit of like flexibility, because usually the date will fall around the holidays or something like that. And so like usually if you need another month or some more weeks, like they usually will work with you, but you have to like, that was the hardest learning experience for me, was my second book, which my second book was also a train wreck. Like it was a horrible train wreck that I had to then rewrite about 250 pages in a month. And so,
oh my gosh.
and so ever since then, I'm like, I am plotting. Any book that's on a deadline for me has got to be plotted ahead of time. But yeah, sometimes you have like ideas though. When you're with traditional publishing, you'll have ideas, and your publisher will just maybe not like them, which also happened to me. And then you just save those ideas for another time or for another situation. Yeah,
Makes sense.
How often do you
But
come
didn't
up
you have
with...
to?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Kelly.
Oh,
I think there might be
no.
a delay in my thing too. So, oh, well,
Go
how
ahead with
often
what you're
do
gonna say,
you?
Sarah.
Sorry, girl. How often do you come up with ideas? Like, do they just come to you, or is it stuff that you have to start writing stuff before you kind of go, oh, I kind of see where this is going? Or...
I get ideas a lot. I get ideas all the time, and I have like a notes app on my phone. And every time I get a new idea, I just kind of like throw it in the notes app. I like give it like a fake title or like something, and I throw it in the notes app. And then when it comes time to like actually sitting down to write, then I look through my notes app and I'm like, which of these ideas actually has like something there that could actually be written, or like something that I think is, which is the hard part, is can it be written? Is there an actual story there? Is that just like a funny, like one-off idea? But is it also something that is marketable? Is it something that my publisher or a future publisher can easily put in a category and say, oh yeah, this is like so-and-so's books, which is like, that's the hard part. Because I learned when I went into my second contract that, so publishers will often, if you already have a contract with them and your contract is over, and if they want to work with you again, they'll say, what do you have? What ideas are you thinking about, or what have you already started? And you have to send them an idea, and then they say, what else do you have? And then you send them an idea, and then maybe they like one of them. And then they say, that's fantastic. We love that book. We'll take that book. But what's the second book that you're going to sign with that? Because a lot of times it's a 2-book contract. And so you have to give them a second idea that you haven't thought, that's a year out. You haven't even thought about what that could be. And so you send them, second book ideas and just hope that one of them kind of hits. So that was hard for me. Like Sweet Little Lies, that idea was very firm in my mind. I knew exactly what I wanted to write. I knew exactly what the story was going to be. But the second book idea that I sent them was kind of vague. And it's really hard to like kind of, they want a synopsis. They want to see like, what are the twists? What's the, how does it fall in line with the other book? Is it something we can market together? And that was tricky. That was really tricky.
Ooh,
and I don't know terrifying. I don't know if I actually pulled it off. We'll find out in February when my editor gets back to me.
I have a good feeling. I think you're good, girl.
We'll see. You never know. You never know.
All right. So for you two, what inspires you the most? Sarah, do you want to take this first? What inspires you to sit down and start writing?
Do you mean like things that I've taken inspiration from for my books, or just in general? I know it's kind of hard to do a generalized one, but I think in general, I'll just do both. I like, I guess, movies. So I like that the idea of being able to put something out there that came out of your head. So I like a lot of anime, movies, and music sometimes too, which that's more on what inspired a lot of my books. When I have a storyline and I start writing it, there's certain music. It's always music that I use with this. It doesn't have lyrics. It's just kind of like, I don't even know how to explain it. Some of it's electronic, some of it's orchestra, some of it's just kind of like a jumble of a lot. And I'll put that in, and I literally have a list on my YouTube called Writing Music. It's like 7 hours long in music. I just hit play, and then whenever I'm writing a scene, I kind of pick one of my little genres. Like, all right, this is an action scene, so I need to listen to hybrid, and I'll start listening to that, and the scene will kind of play out in my head, and I'll kind of type it out as I like, oh, okay, this part of the song kind of sounds like this would happen, and I would kind of throw together the scenes with the music, which sounds kind of weird. So music has helped me and inspired me through writing, and I don't watch a lot of anime anymore, but I used to. That also used to help me. I would kind of watch anime, and I would go, man, what if I could take these characters and kind of put them in their own little, world, and I could, I like this story, but I feel like it could have been better if it happened this way. So I don't know. It's hard to say. There's so many little different things that I'm like, oh, I should write about that. Just random things. So
I love that.
What about you, Sharon?
Fan fiction writers unite.
yes. Oh.
I don't know if you're supposed to admit that in traditional publishing, but I write fan fiction. So
I was gonna say that's kind of where I started.
That's how we started, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I think the taboo is coming off now that there's been
a lot of those books are getting published.
Yeah, really.
A lot of those books are getting published, yes, and doing
Shades
well.
of Grey.
It's doing really well. Really well.
Yeah. So
yeah.
What about you, Karin?
I'm one of those people that I've struggled my whole life trying to decide what I wanted to be when I grew up. That was the question I hated the most as a kid, because literally every day I wanted to be something else. And I wanted to, like you said earlier, I just wanted to be a different, not just person, but different career and different kind of lifestyle, living in a different place. And you can do that with stories. And so for me, it's a lot of being able to just kind of live out these other experiences that I, personally can't do in my real life. And I get so many ideas of things that I would love to be able to do, but just I'm not able to do, But yeah, if I wanted to be a doctor tomorrow, I could be well, maybe I'll write a book about a doctor, or if I wanted to be an archaeologist or an astronaut, these are things I can incorporate into my stories and experience that way. As for what inspires what I write, literally everything, sometimes I'll overhear a conversation in a coffee shop and I'll be oh, that could go south real fast in my story. And then I put it in
my story.
Or documentaries. A lot of I hate to admit that I watch crime documentaries because then I'm afraid people are going to look at my books and be what was that inspired by? but that is a great thing to watch if you're looking for motive, because sometimes people's motives for doing crazy things is just so unbelievably simple. And you think to yourself, it has to be some complicated villain thing. And no, it could just be you parked your car in front of my house too many times. And and
now you're dead.
Exactly. And I mean, honestly, there I get story ideas from literally everywhere and
That's
everything. Awesome. And anybody who tells me something it's not safe.
It's not safe. It might end up in my book.
I won't use your name, but there have been some things that have shown up in my books, and people who were the ones who said it to me or who lived it, but obviously I leave out the personal details.
Oh yeah.
I've gotten some calls that are oh, I remember that. I was there. I was there when that happened in high school. Yeah.
Do not confess crimes to Karin.
No, don't.
I mean, for legal purposes, I have no crimes to confess.
Yeah, let's put that on the table first.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, but I mean, like Sweet Little Lies, it's a fictional town, but it's obviously the town that I went to high school in, and so people who have read it who were from high school, they're like, oh, I know exactly where that fight took place.
That's awesome.
In the football field, yeah. So.
Carl Witzman. So my friend Carl is a retired psychologist, but he's also a writer. And he says, sorry, I got called away. Came back to Karin talking about folks parking in front of the house too many times. Yes, I use psychology like that in the books. He also has written some thrillers. And Carl Witzman says, I was a counselor for over 30 years, and it comes in handy.
I mean, you hear things, yeah. I mean, and you find out that it doesn't take a lot for somebody to just make a wild decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, really doesn't.
One bad day, you never know what would be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Nita of Sci-Fi says, oh no, I might have to be careful with what I share with writers.
If I ever had Nita in a
Accurate.
story, like she would be one of the characters that survives. I don't have a lot of characters that survive my books, but Nita, if you were
You'd
in
be
my
a final
book,
girl.
you would be a
Final
girl.
girl, yes.
Would I be a final girl? I feel
I
like
mean,
I'd
you
be the
you
first
might
to die.
you might be one of the villains. I don't know.
Ooh,
'Cause you're
Kelly.
so,
I take that as a compliment. I take that as a compliment. I have villain energy.
Yeah.
So what inspires me is a lot of the things that inspire you, Sarah. So I definitely a lot of my stories start out as fanfic. Scorcher started out as X-Men fanfic
I did
and
not know
spiraled from
that.
there.
Love it.
It
That's
love
awesome.
it.
totally did. Yeah, it spiraled from there. Music inspires me. I get a lot of my best ideas when I'm driving. So the one good thing about the job that I will not be at in a couple of weeks is that I have a really long drive. So a lot of times I'll plot out my books while I'm driving because I have nothing else to do. And my ADHD brain, I mean, yes, of course I'm driving, but my ADHD brain needs to multitask. So I'll sit there and like plot out entire chapters in my head while I'm driving.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah,
And
and
Kelly,
then
can you listen to music when you write? Because this is like something that I love hearing people answer this question.
yes,
You
yes,
can.
actually, I
And you
listen to
do.
music a lot. I have a really, really long author playlist. What about you? Can you listen to music?
Well, this is so fascinating to me. I feel like I'm such an odd person out on this because I really struggle to listen to anything when I'm writing. And
Ah.
if there are words, like the only way I can write to a song is if I'm writing something super emotional and I want to feel that emotion myself while I'm writing it, then I can listen to a song. But if the song has words, I have to listen to it so many times that I can't hear the words anymore
I can't listen
before
to anything with words.
before I can write. And a lot of times I have that with like, you know, orchestral music sometimes too, that I'll get distracted by it. So I listen to a lot of white noise unless it's like a sad scene or something. Then maybe I'll throw on a soundtrack, but it can't be a soundtrack of anything that's too obvious because then all I'll think about is that movie. So maybe it makes me. Maybe that's why I write so many serial killers because of the absolute silence.
So what's going
Carl
on there,
Woodson
head
says,
probably.
"Thank you, Karen. Absolute silence." So he's team silence.
Oof.
Hollis Thompson says, "Kelly Guentner, are you telling us that you ship Jean?" No, no. Aiden is not Jean. She has similarities with Jean, but no, she was more of a self-insert character to hook up with Iceman. Yeah. I'm not proud of that.
I was always team Magneto Xavier myself, but you know, we don't have to go there.
Yes.
We're going there.
They were absolutely ex-boyfriends. I'm sorry. They were ex-boyfriends.
Especially in the reboot films. I was like, oh, they made it canon, basically.
Yeah, as much as they hate each other, there was something going on way before that.
Deep love.
Just saying.
Nita of Sci-Fi Queens says, "Oh, thank you so much. I get to live." LMAO.
You're welcome.
Aww.
And Carl Witzman says, "Donna and I will be in a coffee house and see someone handle a briefcase in an odd way, and suddenly they are part of a spy story or a criminal." Yes.
I struggle with this actually when I see things like this because like when I grew up in the household I grew up in, like my parents were a little bit paranoid. I'm sorry if you're watching this, Mom, but you are. And it was always like, you need to be aware of your surroundings, especially people with briefcases. That was always a big thing with my parents. Like briefcases are dangerous. And I'm just like,
what?
So, I don't know. You know, you can put so many things in briefcases, I guess. I don't know.
That's true.
So I was always afraid of briefcases as a kid, actually. So like I'm with you on that. That person was definitely a criminal or a spy, but probably a criminal or a criminal spy.
Or murder and there was a body in the or a body.
The body. I mean, maybe.
If you see enough anime and put people in suitcases.
You could. That's true. Anime. I love this.
Nita asks, Kelly and Sarah, have either of you written sci-fi? So my books are superhero romance. So it's light sci-fi that plays fast and loose with the science.
I like how you put that, fast and loose.
I like that. I like that too. I'm going to say that to my editor next time she says I made a legal mistake. I'm like, I'm playing fast and loose with the law.
You're wrong.
You're
What about you, Sarah? Have you written any sci-fi?
Actually, one of my first books was sci-fi. I did not get it published because it was based off of Gundam Wing anime, and It was a fan fiction. It was a self-inserted, like Kelly said, I self-inserted myself. Wow, how many times am I going to say that? Into the Gundam Wing story, and I wrote my own story with the characters and changed their names and stuff. But that is actually one of my third books that I plan to rewrite and actually make my own with my other two stories that I have. But it's going to be about an alien coming to Earth, post-apocalyptic kind of thing, and there's not Gundams, but there's machines that people made, and they use them for war on other aliens and so on. So it's going to be, I don't know if it's still going to be considered YA, because it is going to be, it's like about a young alien, and so I don't know how that's going to, if it's going to be considered
sci-fi. Can you just promise me that one of the characters has the duo Maxwell hair?
Oh my God.
I was obsessed with that when I was a kid. I was like, my gosh, his hair.
That was my favorite anime. Hiro was my love. I had so many pictures of him printed. Like, I would go to school and I would go to the library and I would print off pictures of Hiro, Yui, and put them on my wall at home. And I would just look at them like, oh, I'm writing this book and I'm in it, and Hiro Yui loves me. And oh my God, it was so crazy. My best friend, she loved Duo, so her big thing was fan art of Duo Maxwell, and oh my God, it was so much fun.
I mean, I started in the X-Files fan fiction. That's how I got into fan fiction. It was the X-Files. So
I love X-Files. Oh my God.
Maybe that's where like the police procedural side of it came into it. It was definitely like that.
That's awesome.
It checks out now. Oh, okay, makes sense.
Buffy fan fiction for me.
Ah, yes, okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's actually surprising I haven't written anything with vampires in it.
Yeah,
vampires are coming back in a really big way. I have like the inside scoop on this. So
really,
your books are coming out at a good time.
Wow, can you tell me more? Because it's like nobody cares about vampires.
They're coming back in a big way, but they're in the big ways that they're coming out for like there are some YAs coming out, but there are some adult vampire books that are coming out in the next year that are just gonna like knock people's socks off. And it's also like new takes on vampires. And I got this scoop in Iceland a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
And one of the authors who has a vampire book coming out is CJ Tudor, who is one of those people who like is that horror, thriller, sci-fi. She's like on the edge between like both. And she's got this vampire book coming out next year, and it's gonna just change the genre, I think, which is good in an exciting way. It's gonna be exciting.
Awesome.
But she's not the only one. There are other authors too that are coming out. That's going to be the big one next year.
That's awesome.
So you can use that to start like promoting yours.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the little scoop there. I definitely will. I'm like, hey, I heard vampires coming back. You know, I wrote a book about vampires. Just saying.
Exactly.
Just saying.
So tell us more about Iceland.
Yes, that sounds like
yeah. So I went to Iceland Noir this year, which is it's a festival in Iceland it's technically for any books that are like inspired by darkness, but because it takes place in Iceland, and Iceland is huge in crime and thrillers right now, Icelandic authors are just like destroying it. There was a lot of crime and thriller authors there, and so it was this really amazing literary festival. And I had the amazing pleasure of being able to speak there. But I mean, Dan Brown was there, who was a super nice guy. Neil Gaiman was there, also a super nice guy. I mean, it was a fabulous event. It's very down to earth. I mean, there were bloggers, readers, just people who enjoy like literature, who just come for fun. And everybody was like, you know, going to the cafes together, going to dinner. I got to have dinner with one of my personal favorite authors. I didn't tell her that she was, but
wow, that's awesome.
It was just it was fun. Yeah. But yeah, drinks with Neil Gaiman, that was definitely one of the highlights for me. Just like
that's perfection. Oh my God.
You didn't tell me you had drinks with Neil Gaiman.
Wow.
Yeah, we did. It was fun. Yeah. It was nice.
it was fun.
It was cool. No, I mean, it was cool. Really like normal, down to earth. Like everybody who's ever met him like at a con has told me this, but I was still kind of like, okay, well, I'm, you know. And Richard Armitage, I always say that wrong. Richard Armitage, you know, from The Hobbit fame, for those of the nerds out there. His new book just came out. His first book is also a thriller. It's fantastic. I'm halfway through. It's gripping. And he was there, and also really interesting to see how he balanced acting life and author life.
Wow.
That's
So
awesome.
definitely
That's
recommend going
amazing.
to that next year, everybody.
I'll get my passport renewed and buy my ticket right now.
Yeah, let me get a passport.
If you,
Let's go.
if you all want to crowdfund this,
The
I
festival
mean,
itself is actually not that bad, but it's because the food prices in Iceland are like no joke.
really?
Yeah.
well, the plane ticket would be the
The plane
killing
ticket
me.
is no joke as well, but
Yeah,
the food in the hotel is like that's why like I think it was like $100 for the festival. It was like
that's crazy
it was
low.
super
Yeah.
cheap, but like getting there is the hard part.
Oof.
But if we all go, we can like pitch in
There we
together.
go. Yeah.
We could share a hotel room.
Exactly.
Oh my god, that would be awesome.
Bucket list item, new bucket
Yeah.
list item unlocked. I'm really excited for you though. I'm proud that you've been able to have these opportunities. I'm proud of you both. Like I'm like, those are my friends. Look at them
Aw.
succeeding.
Proud of you too, Kelly. Oh my god.
I mean,
Aw.
it's hard to be an artist. It's hard to be an artist in any area of like creativity. And you need friends who like support you because because you always doubt yourself. That's the hardest part about being a writer for me is like the everyday self-doubt about my ability or everything. So you definitely need to keep those friends. We're here for you.
Agreed. Yes, we're all we're in
Agreed.
your corner, Kelly.
Aw. I was telling my husband, I was like, I forget that it's not normal to be an author because it feels like all my friends are authors.
That is so
And then
true.
I'll like be telling someone outside of my friend circle that I'm a self-published author. I'm like, no big deal. And they're like, what? And I'm like, oh yeah, not everyone does that.
Yeah.
I'm like, all my friends have books out and crowdfunds going and whatever. And I'm like, and then they're like, no, tell me more. This is strange and different. And I'm like, oh, you're not one of the weirdos.
You're like, yes, we are strange and different.
Yes, very.
Yes, we are. And I love it. And but I agree, like having that creative circle makes such a difference. And I also want to say that we're not in competition with each other, which I love. Like all of my creative friends, we're all supporting each other. And like when one of us succeeds, we all cheer each other on. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
it's
that. And
inspiring to see other people succeed. I think that was kind of when you asked me about inspiration, that was kind of another one I didn't think about is seeing some of my other author friends do what they're doing and they're, killing it and it's just so inspiring. It's like, "Oh wow, this is so cool."
I think too, like you don't really get this from the outside perspective, but I feel like in the book world, if somebody you know succeeds, then you also kind of succeed because
yeah,
somebody else's success can then turn around and help you become more successful, especially if you're in the same genre. Because, if they're able to tweet about you and they have the following that's going to like go look up your books, I mean, that's such a small thing on a person's part to do to just be like, oh, I read this book, it's fantastic. But like it really does go far nowadays with social media, especially. So I always am thinking like, yeah, if I have friends who are creative and they make it, that's fantastic because that helps everybody else that they know and who they support too. So
agreed. And aw, Nita's so sweet. Nita of
Oh,
Sci-Fi Queen
love
says,
Nita.
it's a huge deal. You all should be very proud of your accomplishments. You.
thank you.
Nita is so fantastic. You guys have to check out her podcast, her show. It's so good. And they always do a feature.
Excited.
They always do a feature on a woman in science who's making some kind of like,
Oh, yeah.
technological advancement or push towards something in the scientific world as well. After talking about something more in like, our like nerdy spaces, and it's always a fun
I
podcast to
love
watch.
That's
that.
awesome. I
Oh,
know. Oh my
I
god.
love that. So, speaking about supporting fellow creatives, let's talk about this. So, what is one thing that you all think that other people can do to support you that costs zero money? Like you said, Karin, tweeting.
I mean,
What else can someone do
literally telling anybody at the holidays, like you're going to see your friends and family at the holidays, just say, hey, this book is out. Even if you haven't read it, like if you know somebody who thinks that they're interested in that genre, like say, hey, I heard this book is out. I saw this author, or I follow this author, or, you know, that might be something up your alley. And like literally that costs nothing. But yeah, tweeting, sharing posts, so easy, especially on TikTok and Instagram, like literally just clicking the share button. So easy to help people that way. I've had some people even go to libraries and ask their librarians, like, is this a book that you can get in stock? Like, I know the author, or I've read the book. Can you get it in the local library? And that also has been very helpful.
Agreed. What about you, Sarah? What do you think people can do?
Everything that Karin said, that's all just sharing and talking about it, word of mouth, sharing our posts, you know, hey, this is going on. Here's some more news that's going on with my books. And just, you know, I guess being, I don't know the right word, when you're interactive, kind of like if you, like when you make your post, if somebody jumps on, oh yeah, that's awesome. Like, thank you for commenting, kind of gives me a boost, you know?
Yeah.
So,
it really does
boost visibility.
It really does. Actually, with my new book, I got a lot of visibility from people in the cosplay community because I finally got the nerve to tell people on one of my cosplay accounts that I write books, and they were just like,
"Oh, that's awesome!"
Like, what? Like it was a big shock. But then they asked, "Can you make a video about it?" They pushed that video out really far, and I did see the effects on Amazon. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
It does work. Just the share button really does help.
You really saw the effects on Amazon because you make bestseller in your genre?
I did. I hit #1 for the first time ever. It was very short. It was like for one day.
Still counts.
And it was in a weird category, but yeah, it does still count. Yeah. And
that's awesome.
I will say 100% it was from the cosplayers on TikTok who did it. It was mostly the Star Trek cosplayers because they were the ones that were really pushing it out. But all the cosplayers who followed me and who shared those posts are the reason why the book hit that #1 bestseller flag for the day, which was awesome. Incredibly humbling for me to have people who were willing to do that.
Cosplayers take care of our
they
community.
Really do.
Like, we really do. And I'm going to go through the comments because we have a few fun ones.
Oh.
First of all, Carl's taking off. Bye, Carl. He says, keep up the good work. Must go.
Bye.
Have a good day. And also, hi, the Ryan. The Ryan says, violent cases of writing. Talking about
also a Star Trek cosplayer, Ryan.
Yes.
Yep. He does a great Scotty.
And Nita's suggestion. Briefcases are dangerous. That's your next novel. I'd read it. I would read it.
Yes.
I love it.
But Carl says you better do it quickly before his Donna, his wife, beats you to it because her latest was conventions are a blast.
Oh, I love it. I do have like a Comic-Con thriller idea in my head that I haven't shared yet. Because I actually just went to my first Comic-Con ever this year, and I wanted to do that before I thought about writing this book, obviously, so I could know how things go down. I got a lot of juicy gossip at that con too. I went to
New York Comic-Con. Right?
No, I went to MCM in London, which was huge. It was huge. It was insane. It was insane, but it was very fun. Yay. It was really good. Yeah, it gave me a lot of ideas.
Yes. So let's also talk about hopefully only in book form. Hopefully you're not going to actually murder someone.
Yeah.
You're like
she's like
neither
you gotta keep people on the edge of their seats, you know. Spice it up. You never know what's gonna happen. Just in fiction.
Karen.
Just in fiction.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the things that authors can do to promote themselves. We've talked about it a lot, but let's talk about it some more. So, Karin, what things do you do to promote yourself? I
am on this podcast right now.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
You're welcome.
She said you're welcome.
No, I mean, yeah. What can you do? I mean, honestly, podcasts are so popular right now. Book podcasts are so popular. If you can get on book podcasts, and I think I've done about 3 or 4 this year, If you are, one of the things I would recommend would be, find book bloggers. Usually you can find them really easily on Instagram, who have their own podcasts, and then in the genre that you're writing, and just kind of ask them, hey, maybe give them a free ebook copy of your book, and say, hey, I would like to be on your podcast. And see, a lot of those podcasters are looking for authors. So that's something you can do.
Good. What about you, Sarah?
I'm drawing a blank because that's been one of my struggles is self-promo. I don't like to talk about myself, so I try to push my books as it's not part of me, I guess. I don't know how to
dances. TikTok dances while you're holding the book.
While you're holding So it's been kind of a struggle. Just kind of like what Kelly was talking about, having the energy to want to, put things out there, and it's fun. Like I have done some
job.
Yeah, and then doing like the book trailer, that was my biggest step. Oh my gosh, that was probably the funnest thing I've ever done. I wish I could do that.
So good.
That was fun. I really wish it's something I could do more often. And I got really lucky with a friend that was like, I'll do it for you. And I was like, what? Are you sure? I just have to know him forever. And
it turned out well.
It did. It turned out really good.
He did a really good job. All that stuff came out of my head. And I was like, Josh, you think you can make a city on fire? And you think you can make me stand on top of a building? Like all this crazy stuff. And he was like, what did I get myself into? He said it was one of the most challenging things he's had to edit and film and all this stuff. And I was like, I'm sorry. And you told me you'd do it. But yeah, just stuff like that, like just getting a group of people together and, doing it for, even though it's for me, it's in my head, it's like, it's just part of this fantasy world that I created. It's not me. It's my little world, So I don't know. So I don't have just kind of drawing a blank there. As I've never been really good at doing that, getting on there, and I can't think of things other than say, buy my book. I don't know what else to do.
Because you feel very quickly like a salesperson, and you don't want to feel that way. But then you have to remind yourself that for every Instagram post that you make, how many people is it actually reaching? If it's only reaching like 300 people, then the next one you make might not be reaching the same 300 people. So only the people who are like diehard watching your account like very closely are going to see all of them. But like, sprinkle them in, make a few posts about other books that you're reading or about books that are similar in genre to yours, and then make a post about yours. And just kind of stagger it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely remember that the algorithm will suppress posts about your book if that's all you're doing. So
I noticed that.
and be mindful of outside links. So be creative and kind of work in the information about where to buy your book in an image if you can, because Meta will suppress outside links if you put them in the text of your post. So if you put them in the image and put where your book is available, people will figure it out. A really important thing is your friends may not even know you have a book out if you don't talk about it. And don't feel bad talking about it. It's really cool that you wrote a book. And this is not just to you, Sarah. This is to anyone out there who's written a book. So my book information is in my Facebook cover profile. And whenever I go on a podcast, even if it's unrelated to my book, I mention my book.
Yeah.
That's smart. Yeah.
Always mention it. And sometimes if I'm talking to someone, like I don't bring it up every conversation ever, but if I'm talking to someone and it naturally comes up in a conversation, I'll bring it up and it's gotten more natural. But like, don't feel bad bringing up your book. It's a cool thing that you did. And when you have a circle of creatives, it feels like, oh, it's not that great because I have other friends doing really cool things, but it is a cool thing that you did. And it's worth talking about. Other things, like really work the social media, but don't burn yourself out.
Which is so easy to do.
It's so easy to do, but work smarter, not harder. So like Facebook and Instagram have the Meta Business Suite, so you can schedule posts ahead of time and you can cross post.
The one thing I haven't done yet that I need to do is a newsletter. Everybody tells me the newsletter is the big one, that people will follow it And that's the one thing I haven't figured out yet, but
Me too.
that's my 2024 goals.
I don't even understand what a newsletter is. Like, people were talking about, I'm on an author group, YA author group page. Kelly, I might have invited you to that. I can't remember. But they're always talking about newsletter swaps. I'm like, what even is?
It's hard.
So people sign up on your website, which
Yeah.
you will set yours up, once you get things set up with your publisher, and then you send out mass email, like a newsletter once every few weeks, telling them what you're up to, like where you're going to be appearing at cons, what upcoming books you have, stuff like that.
And some really good newsletters will be like, I follow this one guy, he does a fantastic newsletter, and he always has a section of like a movie I saw this month that I really liked, or like, here's a picture of what my dog is doing this month, like my dog's accomplishment this month.
That's darling.
So it's not just like his books, but it's like, or like sometimes he'll ask readers to send in like a funny photo, and then he'll like write a 2-sentence story about it or something. So
that's awesome.
It's a lot of things you can do.
That's so creative.
Smart.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, Beast Within.
Hi, Beast Within Gaming. Asked, would you ever cosplay one of your own characters? Sarah absolutely has.
We know Sarah has.
So have I. I have. Would you?
My characters dress so boring.
You need to write more interesting dressing characters.
Better dressed characters. Actually, there was somebody on TikTok who actually has been cosplaying a character from my first 2 books, which has been fantastic. She does an amazing job, and it's so flattering. So I probably couldn't top hers, but I guess I could.
Do it.
Do it.
Yes. Nita from Sci-Fi Queen says newsletters work also to tell you're following what podcasts like this one, interviews, meetups you will be doing, and they will be able to support you. Yeah, so they're a really good tool that I also haven't gotten up and running. So steal your idea, Kara, to make that my 2024 goal too.
And now I feel like I have to write a character that specifically wears something exciting just so I can cosplay them in the future. So
put a cosplayer in
I'll have to put Beast Within in my acknowledgements if I do that. So remind me of that in the future.
I have to take pictures, but I bought, so in the scene where Aiden first meets her love interest Marty, she wears this gold dress that I described, and I bought it 2 months ago and haven't taken pictures yet, and I'm so mad at myself.
Why haven't you taken pictures,
Kelly?
Because I've been exhausted.
So can we talk cosplay for a second?
Yes.
I'm so excited because I actually just bought a new cosplay, and I bought it last week, and I'm super excited about it. It hasn't arrived yet, but today, the cosplay shop that like usually makes the cosplays that I purchase that I really like, because I don't have the time to make them anymore like by hand like I used to.
No judgment.
But they just dropped a new Loki cosplay. I do a lot of Loki cosplays on TikTok, and I'm like, I just bought something from you guys last week, and now you dropped this on my lap today. So I need to find like $200.
You need to find $200. We can.
So if somebody wants to buy my book,
we're gonna
buy my book. So you can see this amazing Loki cosplay.
Yes, because Karen's Loki is incredible. Check out her TikToks. You'll see. And then you'll be moved to buy her book to get the Loki.
To support more. Because I basically
cosplay.
I almost 100% of the money that I make from my books literally just goes into cosplay. So if you want to see more cosplays from me, it's literally just please buy the book. And then I'll get a new cosplay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Same.
I hear that. Yeah.
We all have the other jobs for like the bills, but
right. Yeah.
My book writing is for my cosplays. So please.
You know what? That's a fabulous,
really
fabulous place to put your book writing funds. I'm just not even above begging for cosplay money because I have a Patreon specifically for cosplay.
No shame. No judgment. Don't worry.
So sweet. Actually, this is funny. in Iceland, there was one person in Iceland who actually followed my cosplay account and recognized me and came up to me and was like, why have you not done Ro Laren from Star Trek? Like, they're like, I'm waiting for you to do Ro Laren. And I'm like, all right, I'll add her to the list.
It shall be done.
Make it so.
Make it so, exactly.
Yes.
Oh,
Eastwithin
there
Gaming
you go,
is-
Sarah.
There you go. That's why I did my book trailer. And then
So
when I
it's
planned to,
cosplaying own characters.
take it to your what do you call it, your booth, cosplay as your character, and people come out like, what are you
love
dressed
that.
as? My
I
own
love
character. Ha You want to hear
Sarah's
about it?
also
Or
gonna be
book about it?
Yep.
So I'll just
Sarah's
have to get a
also
lot
gonna
of.
be cosplaying my character.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm excited.
I'm excited. I can't wait
I
to do
don't
this.
I don't know if I can. I guess I could cosplay the character for my new book, but for my first two books, I guess I'd have to just like photos of me standing on a street corner, chain smoking with a beard.
Chain smoking with
That'd be hot.
That's me.
Totally counts. I mean, it counts.
You do look good with a beard. Like,
Thanks.
surprisingly good.
It's that jawline, sis. Go girl.
It is.
I was
That-
so confused with your Riker videos. I was like, this better not awaken anything in me.
I love it. That one, and actually when I did Doctor Strange the first time, I was like, should I do like a feminine Doctor Strange or should I do a masculine Doctor Strange? And like there are a lot of really good female Doctor Strange cosplayers on TikTok. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go get a goatee and we'll try it. And I thought it was really cool. I got a lot of compliments on the goatee. So
That's awesome.
the chain smoking, right? Yeah.
There you go.
It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I might have a Loki thirst trap coming soon.
The thirst trap. Oh my god.
It's bad.
Oh.
It's not even good, but it's coming somewhere in the future. Like maybe tomorrow. Sunday seems like a great day to post thirst trap.
That's a good day. Yes.
Shield yourselves, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
So, do you two have any other thoughts or advice about writing?
It's a nerd trap. Sorry. It is a nerd trap. I think for me it's like if the first book is the hardest, like, to finish. And if you really break it down, like even if you just write 100 words a day, like you can have like a decent amount. Thanks.
Bye.
Done by the end of the year.
Gaming.
Bye, Beast. I mean, you can have a decent story by the end of the year, or at least something for you to work with. And so I think it's kind of just like find your schedule that works for you and then stick to it. Make it like part of your daily routine, your daily habit, like brushing your teeth. Like you're like, okay, I have to write my 100 words today. And I think that's just, yeah. The hard thing is like, if you want to do it professionally, you have to treat it like a job. Because it is.
Yeah.
And that getting into a good routine is good practice for when you do get a publishing contract and you are on a deadline. You'll already have that routine built in. That's my best advice. If you want to do this as a career.
Agreed. Yeah. Just never stop writing.
And don't quit your day job.
Yeah, right. God. Yeah, dreaming of being an author when we were kids, like, I don't have to have a regular day job. Ha ha. Joke
Right.
on me.
I mean, I truly believe that, like, you can get to that point. Like, a lot of people say, like, even if you're not like a huge author, but like once you have 6 books out, if you're like getting like a steady like income from those 6 books, like then you could potentially make it your only career. But you have to be doing all the other stuff too. You have to be doing the marketing and the TikTok dances and
The TikTok dances.
Oh gosh, the TikTok dances.
not.
Teach me your ways.
It's all like
So-
faking it.
Smoke and mirrors. Okay, I'm good
It
at that.
is.
I can do
It
that. I
is.
can fake it till I make it.
You also have to leave your ego at the door and
Yeah.
be willing to look ridiculous to do TikTok dances.
So my trick
My-
for anybody who wants to do TikTok dances is basically to get as close to the camera as possible so nobody can see your full body, because my legs are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So you get the arm motions in,
There
come in
you
for a
go.
close up.
That's smart.
You just and then cut it so it looks like you knew what you're doing.
my advice is to be kind to yourself and also develop a thick skin because your book is not going to be for everyone.
No, that's true.
You have to be willing to take criticism, but you also have to consider the source. And so look for the constructive criticism, even
That's
if
really
it's
good
not
advice.
packaged nicely, but look for
Yeah.
there's a difference between someone just saying this sucks and someone saying this is bad because X and Y. And you can look and say, okay, well, is X something I can do better? Is Y something I can do better?
Mhm.
Yeah, it hurts to put something that you put your heart and soul in there out there and have someone say, oh, well, this is bad. But if they're saying this is bad because X and Y, they're giving you something that maybe you can improve upon for next time. But if someone just says, oh, this sucks, ignore them. You don't need that kind of negativity in your life. Or if someone says, this sucks because I wanted a romance and they're reading, oh, hello, Miss Isabel, and they're reading a thriller. Oh my goodness, honey.
Oh no.
Yeah, sweetie, this chair is not made for two. Are you giggling? She's giggling.
Oh, I think what you said is a good point where you're talking about like consider the source of the criticism, because I know I have a lot of people reach out to me on Instagram especially about how did I pick beta readers or do I have beta readers or that kind of thing. And I think like it's not a bad idea to have them if you're a first time, it's your first book. But when your criticism comes in, like know the person who read it, where is their criticism coming from? Is this a person who reads widely in the genre that you've written in? Like, do they know the tropes of, YA romance or fantasy or thrillers? And, and do they have experience like giving criticism? Because maybe they just don't know how to give good feedback. So yeah,
It's
you have to be
important.
able to judge what criticism you take, what feedback you take, and what you just leave at the door.
My favorite 1-star review is from my first book is someone who said they couldn't get past the first chapter because they really did not want to hear about people running around Antarctica in spandex. And I'm like, and I love this review. I love it. It makes me laugh every time. And like, I
It's a
hope this
superhero
person
book.
found it's a
Yeah.
superhero book. I hope that I'm like, nowhere did I advertise it as anything but it. I leaned into it.
But that makes me want to read the book. You know what I mean? Like if somebody told me this
Yeah.
book opens with people running around in Antarctica with like spandex, I'd be like, sign me up, stat.
Yeah.
But that's the
Nowhere
thing.
did I
It's subjective. My first book, a lot of like I'll say like the lower reviews were because people said it's a slow burn. But for some people, a slow burn is a 5-star. Like they love a slow burn. Like so, it really depends on the reader.
Yeah, it really does. I think that was a lot of complaints with my book is it's a slow burn and the action doesn't start right when they want it to. And I'm like, well, you don't even care about the characters if it jumps right in my opinion, in my writing. But it helps me to kind of care about my characters too. If I don't just, if I write a little more personal, I don't even know the right word to say. Just kind of a background with it. And yeah, I agree. It just depends on the reader. You never really, you'd be really shocked at who actually wants, like my friend Steve that was on here. I don't know if he's still on here, but I mean, Steve is old enough to be my almost grandpa, and he loved it. I was like, "Are you just saying that because you're my friend?" He's like, "No, I actually really got into it, and I really actually could relate with your 17-year-old character." I'm like, "What?"
Love that.
So just you never know who's gonna like it and who doesn't. But I agree, it just depends on the person because you can't make everybody happy. So
no, you can't.
And then she'll spend some time with you. Okay.
Like Crayley Vanessa says, it's like complaining that a romance novel had kissing in it or something.
Really?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like,
come on.
Although I did get I won't say it was a bad review. I think it was 3 stars, but it was a review. Normally I do not read my reviews. Like I only read them if somebody sends me them and says you should read this one. And somebody sent me one that was like, the birds were too scary. And I was like,
What?
I remember that.
Like, you know what? That's not a bad, to, like the birds were too scary, 3 stars. And I was like, you know what? For me, I feel like that is a 5-star review. Like I'm happy with
Agreed.
that. I'm happy with that. Like if the
You
birds
wrote
scared
scary
people,
birds.
I
Yeah,
feel like
that's
I
awesome.
succeeded.
The birds were supposed to be scary. And
Yeah.
birds
I'm
were
glad
in the
they were
title.
too scary for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Glad that was
But
realistically terrifying.
Another author once told me this trick. If you are an author who reads your reviews, which I am not, but if you are, and you're ever feeling like bad about yourself, it's like look up your favorite book ever and look up the 1-star reviews of your favorite
I've
book.
done that. Isn't that smart? That's a good
It
idea.
is so smart. Like there are some
Ryan says,
fantastic 1-star reviews for like Stephen King books.
Oh wow, yeah, and oof.
Crayley says birds can be scary. While
Birds
I
are
was reading Where Ravens Roost, Crayley had a problem because Crayley and I have this weird Phoenix connection. So it invoked birds on Crayley. Because Crayley had a problem where birds just got stuck in her house. And so she has like a mirror with her knife collection displayed. And the bird managed to like I forget exactly how it happened, but the bird managed to be like running into the mirror and the knives were flying at her. So the bird was like literally throwing knives at her. So somehow
Oh
that
my God.
happened while I was reading your book.
Oh.
Wow.
I mean, I hired those birds to do that.
That was like a really good PR stunt.
There you go.
But
Well,
that's a little far, Karen. That's a
sorry,
little
yeah.
far.
You know, I just kind of go that extra mile,
Yes.
extra 3,000 miles.
Girl after my own heart. Make it real. Make them feel the panic and the terror.
Nita says criticism needs to be taken with a grain of salt because it's an opinion based, not a fact based commentary. Yeah, art is subjective.
It is.
Really says, yeah, thanks, Karen.
You're welcome.
It's traumatic. It was literally traumatic. I'm like, I'm
Sounds
sorry
dramatic.
this happened. Because I was
I
reading.
I had a creative writing professor who said that the most important thing is that every story has an animal in it. And it doesn't matter if the animal is like a main focus of the story or it's in the background, but like you need to have animals in your story to add like realism. And ever since then, I was like, I have to have animals in every single book. So I make sure that there's an animal that has a prominent somewhere in the book. There's an animal. So
I love animals.
The birds took over that first one.
They really
That's actually
did.
what my second one is going to be about. It's going to be about a tiger. So
oh, excellent. Fantastic. Oh, I love it.
Do cryptids count as animals?
Sure.
Yeah, heck yeah. I think so.
I'm so excited about my cryptid story. Y'all have no idea. Every time I've told, I'm not going to tell it on air, but every time I've told someone my pitch for the first book, they're like, oh my gosh, why haven't you written that yet so I can read it? And I'm like,
Ooh.
That's how I am with my next one too. Like every time the few people who have heard the pitch are just like, finish it.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm like, I haven't even started
it.
Crayley says, for anyone wondering, it was the biggest common grackle I've ever seen. They're black and have a lot in common with ravens. Is that not creepy?
Okay, well, what's even creepier is that this is the second time somebody's brought up grackles to me today, which is a word I'd never heard of before today, and now I've heard it twice in one day, and so I feel like grackles are going to be in the future.
Nice. Hey, Steve. Good. I'm glad you're still here.
All right. So I'm sorry I didn't prepare more questions. I was expecting us to get hit with a bunch of questions like last time, but I feel like we've still had a pretty good flow for discussion.
Oh, yeah,
no, I mean, I'm so
both.
excited to hear more about Sarah's books coming out in their new form.
Aww,
and so
Karen.
please, like, you know, make your stuff available on your socials so that we can share it and shout about it.
What? Yes, definitely. Oh my God, that would be awesome. I will
And if
definitely
you
be
do write
posting.
something outside of YA and you need an author to provide a quote, you've
What?
got some here. So
Okay, that's
reach out.
awesome. Okay,
Yeah. Once
thank
again,
you.
here's where you can find Sarah. Linktree.com/SAFIR_art. I'm sorry, Sarah, I'm talking over you.
No, you're not. You're good.
Go ahead and tell people what you're up to.
Who, me?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, girl. I think I missed your question. I'm sorry, girl.
Okay, so I figured we could just tell people where we can find you and what you're up
Oh,
to.
okay. Well, my Instagram is mostly based off of cosplay, my cosplay stuff, but I do promote my book on there also. So it's kind of a little bit of back and forth. And then a lot of my photo shoots. I don't really post a whole lot of daily stuff on my Instagram. I don't really put a whole lot of, I don't know the right word to say. I guess my daily, kind of like what I do, I don't do a lot of stories. That's what I meant, I guess. A lot of people will kind of do like, here's my day and here's what I'm doing today. Or when I'm going to the store or I'm going to the bookstore or something, I don't, broadcast it or whatever. But so I think a lot of my stuff is just what my next photo shoot's going to be, what my next character is going to be. And then if I do have updates on my books, I'd throw that on there too. I think it's just been kind of discouraging on social media, just trying to get out there and get people to see your stuff. So, but yeah, kind of like what Karin said, I like the ideas of thinking of different kinds of entertainment to put on there as aside from cosplay and books, just to kind of grab attention from other people. So that's a really good idea. So
that I've already done and read it.
Yeah, I just need to go and watch your TikTok videos and get inspiration.
You
Yeah,
will.
so nothing crazy, nothing crazy here yet. Thanks, Karin.
It's going to be crazy once she checks out these TikToks. Then her
my
videos
God,
are going to be wild.
I'm excited. I can't
So
freaking
bad.
wait. Oh, hush. It's not bad.
I mean, that isn't cringe.
Oh, whatever. Don't worry
And Karen, what about you? Where can people find you?
So here's my website there. But you can also find me on Instagram at Karin Nordin author. I also have a link tree Karin Nordin for all of my author stuff. If you want to find my cosplay stuff, I'm at Jazzercise Loki.
Oh my God, I love the name.
Because people always ask me, like, where did that name come from? I'm like, well, if you go way back to my first videos were like I did Jazzercise videos dressed as Loki, but like with the leotard.
That is priceless. Oh my God. I'm going way back to day one.
I feel like I should bring it back. People have asked me to bring back the exercise videos because they were just like, this is how you get America's, let's do it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, you can find me easily on all of the social media apps. And I just joined Blue Sky too. And I have a YouTube. You can find the link on my website and everything. That is also a 2024 goal to make that to post more on there.
Yes. And so I'm going to play my trailer, but I will be getting an updated trailer in a few months, courtesy of Miss Sarah.
I just went, what? Like I forgot already? Brain.
You've had a whirlwind year.
It is. 2023 has been wild.
It's been crazy.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. But Sarah and I will be coordinating soon. All right. Here we go.
Iris took me when I was a kid. I thought they were teaching me to control my powers, but now I know they've been training me to be their weapon. The time has come to take my life back.
Now I really want to write fantasy.
Yes, girl.
Or like Supernatural, so I
Do
can have
it.
like characters with like bright red hair and like leather leotards.
My laptop's dying. I gotta plug it up real quick. Excuse me while I squiggle around.
Yeah, the costumes are fun. Oh, costumes are fun. And that was the old I grabbed the wrong trailer because Thin Ice is out. And also, like I said, the audiobook is coming soon for Scorcher. I'll be crowdfunding the audiobook for Thin Ice sometime next year. My
Exciting.
narrators are incredible.
Audiobook narrators
Uh,
are just the
I
most
got to
amazing
sneak
people.
peek listen to that. That was pretty freaking awesome.
Right?
It gives chills when you hear it. You're just
Chris
like,
Bowers blew me out of the water. I was like, what, Chris?
Yeah. Sarah and I are both friends with my male narrator, Chris. And then my
I'm gonna
female
plug this in. I'll be
narrator,
right
I
back.
met her for the first time a couple months ago in person. I've known her online. But yeah, our male narrator, he's also a cosplayer and he's incredibly talented. But you can find more information about all my stuff that I do at www.kellyguentner.com. And it's got links to all my socials so then you can find where I post my cosplay, which all my stuff with my cosplay partner is just,
oh,
yeah. All over my socials, Curly and I, we don't do anything separately. Joined at the hip.
True
And
sisters.
it's, yes. Yeah, I agree with you, Nita.
Ooh.
oh yeah.
Got a
So
spicy voice.
the Matt Addis, he narrated my first 2 books and absolutely fantastic. But he also does Doctor Who radio shows. So you can definitely find more of him. He is out there and he does so much. He's so good and also a fantastic person. He's one of those people that's always sharing stuff on social media. So fantastic narrator.
That's
Absolutely
awesome.
brilliant.
He
I hope he can read another one
really
of mine
good.
soon in the future.
Yeah. And your Sweet Little Lies narrator also perfection.
She knocked it out of the park. I normally do not listen to my audiobooks, but when that one came out, like the day it came out, a friend of mine called me and she's like, have you listened to your narrator? I'm like, well, I heard some clips. And she's like, no, but did you listen to any full chapters? I'm like, no, because I feel weird because I hear my own words. And she's like, you need to listen to I think it was chapter 4 or something. It's like one of the early chapters where the protagonist has an argument with her mother. And she's like, you need to listen to that chapter, just that chapter. She's like, you're going to get chills. And it really, I had almost an out of body experience listening to it because it just, the life that she gave these characters, it was so incredible. Yeah. Audiobook narrators are just
That's awesome.
amazing.
They're very talented. Did you forget you were writing it and get so caught up on it?
There was a moment when she did the mother's voice, because the mother in the book is she's a very particular type of person. But when I heard the mother's voice, it literally, I was like, that's what the voice sounded like in my head when I wrote her. And that really it took me out of the fact that I had written it, which I guess is a great thing for an audiobook narrator.
Yes. Oh my God.
It was really, she did a really good job. And that scene was intense. I didn't know how intense that scene was until I heard somebody else read it. Ooh. And now I understand why people are writing to me oh my God, that mother-daughter scene.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Very intense. Yeah, because while listening to clips from my narrator, or not clips, I'm listening to full chapters because I'm producing the audiobook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's different.
I've had those experiences where I get so swept up in it that I forget that I wrote it because, normally when you're reading your own writing, you're like, ugh, I wrote this. And you just have that critical. But I get I've been getting so swept up in it that I've been moved to tears. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
It's amazing what an actor can do.
So good. You okay, girl?
Yeah, my eyes keep watering. I don't know why.
I'm sorry.
She's listening to her audiobook.
Yeah, right. Kelly, I'm listening to it. I'm just crying.
And Nita says this was a great discussion and super fun. And yeah, it really was. Thank you both for joining. This was wonderful.
No, thank you for having us.
It was fantastic to meet you.
I'm sorry that I came in my jumpsuit thinking next time I'll be more professional.
I mean, I'm
Your
wearing the-
background is already super professional. I love how clean it is. I need a room that has like nice, clean walls.
I need my wings. There's my wings.
I love it.
From a cosplay that I had. Didn't want to get rid of them, so I hung them up in my room. Yeah.
I have a cosplay prop here that's going to show up in my holidays, which I haven't shown yet. Do you guys want to see it?
Yes,
Yes.
please. Oh, he's like a gizmo.
Don't get it wet.
Oh, he's so cute.
Stay tuned. He'll be showing up in some videos.
Aw.
Maybe I'll put him in some book videos too.
I want to snuggle him. He's so
Yes.
cute.
He's so soft.
I agree with Nina. You look awesome.
Oh,
Nina says, Sarah, you
Nina,
look
thank
awesome.
you. You're just sweet.
Yeah, you look very cute.
I'm just
All right,
a
well-
5-year-old. Pink everywhere.
You. This was so much
No,
fun.
thank you.
And
Yes,
thank
thank you
you
for having us.
all. Yeah, and thank you to
Karen,
our
it was
wonderful
awesome to meet
audience.
you.
So great to meet you, and I can't wait to like follow all your cosplay stuff and find out what happens with your books.
Oh my god, I'm gonna be right behind you looking at all your Loki cosplays and stuff. I can't wait. You're gonna see all these random like comments and loves. Like,
fine.
it's just me, it's just me.
And audience, thank you for participating. This has been a wonderful show. I really appreciate you all and hope everyone has a great day. And remember, Christmas is a great time to buy books because reading on Christmas Eve, there is nothing better. So buy these ladies' books. Maybe buy my book if you have some budget
Get
left
Kelly's
over.
too. Get
Yeah.
Kelly's too.
Get Kelly as well.
Bye, y'all.
Bye guys. Thank you.